Sometimes problems are very elusive, but it's all in how the shop handles that situation will answer whether or not you should keep going there. Let's get started. This is a 2008 Bentley Continental, obviously a convertible with the W12 engine. We actually done a couple videos here not too long back in our catalog of videos about a Bentley Continental as well. This one came in with an airbag light warning there on the instrument panel, and also an issue with occasionally the warning will come up that there's a burned out bulb. He wants those two items checked out. That's it. Sometimes you get to find out there's more to the story, which the customer included some paperwork for us, which I'm very happy that they did, and it opens up an entire book of now we know kind of what's going on. This car will leave here today with no repairs because the problem is very elusive, it's very vague, and it's not something you just, well, we'll try this, we'll try that. The parts cannon, we don't do that, especially on a Bentley Continental. You don't do the parts cannon on these. You can literally burn up $5,000 for nothing and still have the same problem by doing the parts cannon. So imagine you go to your family doctor and you have knee pain once every 3 weeks, and it only lasts an hour, it's gone for another 3 weeks. Your doctor's probably not going to cut open your knee and figure out what's wrong. They're probably not also going to run up your insurance bill $30,000 running all kinds of tests for something that happens once every 3 weeks, and it's on for an hour and it's gone. They'll say this needs to get a lot worse before we start diving in and really putting the money into this thing. It's the same situation here. I'll show you what we found with the airbag light, and also something that kind of ties into it and kind of explains what's going on. But first, let's take a look around this thing. You always do like the Bentleys, don't you, Miss Wizard?
They're quite beautiful cars.
Very beautiful cars. This one's black on black. I think you could even consider it triple black. Even the wheels are black. It does have a little bit of dust on it as we go down the side. You can see maybe they got caught in a rainstorm or something, but nothing that a car wash can't fix. So many times you guys have seen me open the bonnet on one of these by pulling the B on the earlier models Continentals. But if you're opening the boot, or the trunk as we call it here in the US, you don't pull the B, you push the B. And inside here, I want to show you guys something that's a common issue. There's little gears inside of a motor that opens and closes the rear hatch. And the motor assembly looks like this. This was one that had failed. But inside this casing are gears like these. And it's very common to let a family member borrow the car, or maybe someone, a friend or whatever. They open the trunk, they do whatever, and they don't think about pushing the close button. They just physically force it with their hand and close it, just like you would on any other car, but you really will break it very badly if you do that on one of these. The teeth strip out. It'll literally just tear the teeth off. I actually had a partnership with Additive Restoration. They actually make these for me, or they actually made a large batch of them. I can now rebuild these units with these gears. These are upgraded plastic. And it'll be $500 instead of $1,500 for this guy. So if you guys have one of these Bentleys out there, it's got stripped out teeth. If you have someone at least remove this, send this to us. We will put new gears in it for you. This one does not have that problem. I just wanted to show you guys. Also, when you start having issues with electrical problems, you want to start looking around before you just start tearing stuff apart. I opened the rear hatch and I noticed something. Someone has put brand new batteries in here, both the driver and passenger, which is the starting battery and the main battery, system battery. These vehicles are extremely sensitive to voltages. If the batteries are just the slightest bit weak, it starts throwing all kinds of codes, which I'll show you here in a minute. I'll get these gears and things out of here, which, like I said, there's no problem with the boot on this one. And we'll continue our tour around. And down this side is equally as nice, a little dusty like I mentioned, but otherwise very nice triple black Bentley. Let's go ahead and jump into the interior.
29,398 miles, and let's go ahead and take that hand off the light, and we can see that it's got some beautiful engine turned binnacle designs. Isn't that just absolutely beautiful back there? Nicely seated gauges deep within the gauge cluster. I wish you could smell this car. Smell-o-vision was a thing. You would be loving this car. It smells so nice. The leather, even at the age of this car, still smells wonderful. We have a lovely analog clock in the center of our piano black. As we move down, you'll see we have a nice infotainment system, very simple controls for our HVAC, radio. We have the lovely B on our gear selector, which again, you would press to change gears. As we move back, you'll see it does have a ashtray with cigarette lighter and has two very small little hidey holes here. One it would have been for a cell phone, obviously no longer necessary in today's time. As we pull these back, we then have a larger cup holder that can also change and move. Can be removed easily for a nice little hidey hole. And again, can be covered to keep everything in there contained. As we look at the seats, you'll see they are lovely black with black stitching in the perforated leather. As we move up, you'll see that they did add some nice stitching embroidery for that Bentley emblem in the center of that headrest. As we look at the door card, we'll see that it's, of course, more leather with piano black in the center with white stitching. So this is a four-seater. I'm not sure how comfortable they would be because there is not much legroom, but could hold four people if you were inclined to seat your front passengers clear to the front. But love the embroidered B on the seats back there as well. Headliner, of course, its convertible top is in really good condition, looking really nice. So we're at the steering wheel, which means we're about done, which means the wizard needs to come in here and tell us what is going on with this light that is driving this poor owner crazy. Let's get the wizard in here and figure out what's going on.
One thing I really applaud the customer doing is leaving a scan they had at some other shop somewhere. Maybe they couldn't figure out what's going wrong either. But one thing I noticed, I was expecting to see some things that are totally unrelated to our issue with the airbag light being on. But then I started really looking at the codes that were scanned at the other shop. I started putting two and two together. Let's take a look. This was done like 6 or 8 months ago. But I start seeing no signal communication, no signal, no signal, no signal, no signal. Here we have other systems as well listed. Turn signal bulb, open circuit, implausible signals, no communication, no communication, no communication. So very likely they were having battery issues. Whenever you have a battery going dead on these Bentleys or any other high-end exotic as well, that's the way these modules show that they're not happy with the batteries. Whatever reason that particular module sees low voltage, it just shuts down. It says, I'm done, I'm out. So you start getting reported lost communication. All these modules are shutting down. They're like, the voltage is so low, I'm shutting down. And as we just seen, it has brand new batteries in it. It came in that way. So that very likely was most of the problem here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the airbag light itself, what we're talking about. So basically where I'm going with all this is very likely the issues he's having is related to having batteries had been drawn down. Maybe those particular items weren't cleared. We cleared them, they are not coming back. But there was an airbag light here in the center display for the driver, and we looked up the codes, and the code said there was an issue with the airbag off light, which is right here. I'll go ahead and turn on the ignition and you'll see it illuminate. Passenger airbag off. And it goes off and comes back on because Mrs. Wizard is sitting in the seat. One thing I have no shame in doing when I want to see the operation of something, get the owner's manual out. So many people email me and say, I don't understand how this or that works on my car. I just easily respond, look in your owner's manual. There's so much information in these. And here we see where it says passenger airbag off lamp. some of the criteria for it. It'll stay on if the passenger seat is not occupied, which means it should be on all the time when you're driving and it's empty. It'll stay on with combined weight of an infant up to 3 years of age, rearward facing or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It gives all the criteria of what it's supposed to do. So, based on reading the owner's manual, I know that bulb is working. The code that we saw is indicating that that bulb is out, or there's something wrong with it. But we physically saw it come on. We also mentioned that there was a warning light for one of the bulbs, like side marker, park lamp, brake lamp, headlamp. It was saying one of those bulbs are out. Neither of these bulbs have been out. We checked every single bulb on the front and the rear of the car. Also, we just saw the bulb for the actual airbag off light is working. So, what's wrong? The customer mentioned this issue with the airbag light takes a long time to come on. And if it's cleared, it might come back, it might not come back, and it keeps saying something to do with that bulb, but we see that the bulb is working. It also says bulb issues out here with these bulbs, but they're all working. I am thinking that it's something to do with when the batteries were replaced, and it's just maybe some intermittent issues that we cleared out, and very likely it won't come back. But when you have an issue that's so intermittent like this, it's sometimes you just have to let it go. You have to give the keys back to the customer and say, this needs to be a bigger problem before we start diving in. No customer is going to want to pay 10 hours of labor where we literally pull all the panels out of their car to find nothing. That could be $2,000 in labor for nothing. I don't want to waste a customer's money. We may not find anything. It needs to be a more serious problem where it's staying on all the time, or where physically the bulb is dying and it's off, it's not working. It could be a ground issue, it could be a power issue, but again, it's only happening once in a blue moon. We really don't have anything to go off of on this one. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, how a shop handles this situation will determine if you should keep going there or not. We are going to be honest and say we don't have anything to go off of. Very small, half-an-hour bill, just to kind of peek and take a look at things. You need to bring it back when it's acting up really bad, a lot worse, so that we have something to go with and we can dive in. An unscrupulous shop could easily say, oh yeah, it needs this and it needs that, it's going to be $7 grand, and you spend all this money and it still doesn't solve the problem. And then you bring it back and, oh well, you know, sorry, we don't know what's wrong. They just took your money. We're not going to do that here. We want to see it come back when the problem is more prevalent and consistent and constantly happening. None of these problems he's having are going to cause the car to crash. It actually says in the owner's manual, if the bulb does go out with that little warning light we just showed you, it will not impede the operation of the airbag system. It will still work fine. Is this worth dumping $3 grand into tearing the car apart at this point? Nope, not at all. So, I wanted to show you sometimes a car comes into a shop, there's not a whole lot you can do, and the wrong thing to do is really sock it to them with a bunch of lies. That's happening so much anymore. I hear so many stories of people say, I had this little small problem, I'm $4 grand into this thing, they replaced this, they replaced that, and they didn't have any data to replace those items. They just did it. That's the wrong answer. Just wanted to share this story with you guys before it goes. It'll be leaving tomorrow. We didn't find anything to go off of. The problem, we've cleared the codes. It might be resolved, but again, it needs to be a more serious problem before we start tearing things apart. If you're curious what kind of tools we use to work on this, or will use, or any other car in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. Get a small cut if you purchase anything. We really appreciate it. Check out Mrs. Wizard's Ways. She's got good content, actually some new content going on there. You want to check that out as well. And hit the subscribe button here because more cars just showed up today, which means more videos for you guys. Thanks for watching.